Step into the spotlight, where dreams come alive. Voices of the queens, thrive and strive. Tune in and hold tight, as we set the vibe. Real divas on air, ready to jive. Welcome one and all, this is where we rise. Stories untold, breaking all the ties. From the heart to the mic, breaking silent cries. Welcome to Real Divas Podcast, no disguise.
Welcome to Real Divas, the podcast where we celebrate fierce women, breaking boundaries, shattering stereotypes, and owning their power.
Join us each week as we deliver inspiring stories, candid conversations, and empowering insights from extraordinary guests.
So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and let's get real with the divas who are changing the game. I'm your host, Riri.
I'm your host, Mimi.
In today's podcast, we will discuss a very deep topic, childhood trauma, and how it affects each individual. Mimi, I have to ask you, what's your intake on this?
So childhood trauma is a very deep, sensitive topic. Not many people talk about it. Not many people come out about it. They're always suffering in silence.
Absolutely.
So
lots and lots of people suffering like that.
Of course. And it really takes a toll on their health.
Absolutely.
It takes a toll on the mind. It kind of empowers you because they're not able to come out. And if they are able to come out, they're kind of judging that, have I done the right thing? Maybe I'm responsible. There's so many aspects to that they're kind of thinking that, maybe it's me, I'm the reason. Trauma, when you're suffering it, you always blame yourself.
Absolutely.
And, minorities always blaming themselves. And I think that's where it kind of kicks in and you think...
do you think it's because of lack of support? When you said minorities and individuals blaming themselves, do you think it's part of their culture maybe?
It can be. Culture plays a big part because you're seeing your adults grow up, how they are, and then obviously your childhood, how it was, whether you were emotionally stressed, physically, it all takes a toll on you again. And you're going through it, through your childhood, and you carry it to adulthood. And then obviously in the future, when you have your own kids, you kind of push it to them because you've not released your own trauma. And then you bring it to your kids, and then it's kind of like a legacy that carries on.
Yeah.
Unless you don't release it, unless you don't get that help.
Processing that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You need that right guidance. Counselling. People say counselling is not good, it doesn't help. Honestly, I myself, I'm the biggest example because I have suffered a lot of stress, depression. I have been through all of that. Obviously everyone goes through it on a daily basis. You grow with it and it grows with you.
Yeah.
And everyone suffers. I would not believe if anyone was to say to me, no, I don't have any depression, I don't have any trauma, I don't have it. You do. You even going through an accident.
I think everybody deals with it in different ways and they have a different coping mechanism.
That's right.
Some people like to eat, stress eat.
Of course.
Some people don't eat.
Yes.
Some people overdo other things, exercise, so many different things.
Yeah.
People have coping mechanism.
That's right.
But this is really, really deep, this subject.
I was going to say that, children are mainly, they've got that trauma. Like, for example, when you're young, if you get neglected from your parents, or if you feel that you're not getting that love, you're not getting that support, that carries on with you as well. You kind of have that, the emotions empower you. The anger builds up. Your brain doesn't develop as everyone else's. You kind of lack a lot of, whether it's academically, whether it's it just has, of course. So you can't socialize with people. It gets so hard because you lack that quality because you've not had that love, that the love that every child deserves. You've probably there's so much probably abuse going on in the family, whether it's parents,
Do you think
whether it's
children
siblings.
pray elsewhere as well?
Of course they do.
So when you don't get that attention from your siblings and your parents that a child needs in order to develop
Of course.
properly and grow up in a
Yep.
safe environment,
Yeah.
they'd start to look for that elsewhere.
Yeah, they even lose their self-esteem because they feel that maybe they're not worthy. They're not good enough for people. So they draw back rather than actually being socialized, getting involved in school activities, getting involved in any social activity. They are drawn back because they're seeing other children and they probably think that I'm not good as them. I can't do what they are doing.
So what would be the most obvious signs? So if there was a child who has been through domestic violence or maybe witnessed it in the family, probably not suffered it physically themselves, but they might have witnessed it within the family, extended family.
Yeah.
And how would you identify?
Well, that
what would be the warning signs?
Right, warning signs, it can be anything really, because every family, every environment at home is different. Not everyone has the same environment as one another. For example, I know a child that when I was working at a school, and that child was very drawn back, very scared, always in fear. And I would look at him and I would think to myself, something's not right with that child. And I would look at him and I'd be like, he's not involving in other activities with other children. There's so much to it. Also, it can lead to physical health. For example, like asthma, like any chronic physical condition. It can be obesity, where some children probably eat too much. Some children probably don't eat at all. They're probably not getting that right nutritious food from home. And, they're lacking in all of this. And that kind of really, really does put a child in a position where, because obviously they're not able to understand what's right and wrong at that age. That's why they have adults and carers to look after them.
They don't really know how to express themselves.
They don't. Not at all. Usually children, when we would have like art classes and stuff, they usually express themselves through drawing.
Yeah.
I remember when we would give children, we would let them go off and do their drawing and they would express themselves. So we would allow them to go off and we would see them expressing their feelings, emotions through drawing, painting, whatever obviously we would offer them, they would do that. Also I want to mention about something else that's really, I've seen it pop up a lot. There's a thing called hypervigilance where certain children suffer from that. And that is it's a stress disorder that children, or I don't know, maybe adults have it as well.
What do you call it?
It's hypervigilance. And adults maybe have it, children have it. It stops you from trusting others. You don't trust anyone. It kind of creates a barrier in between. And it doesn't allow them to open up as much. So, that kind of thing that stops them from,
Wow, that really must affect children.
It really does. Honestly, we think that children don't have effect of anything. Honestly,
some children from time to time may act up.
Of course.
And we think, okay, they're just maybe spoiled or maybe they're overtired.
Right.
As parents, we put the blame on certain tiredness, or maybe they're hungry.
Exactly.
Or, they act up, but really it's because of all these things. This is a symptom.
Yep.
If you like.
Everything can affect them. Anything and everything. Even like an accident that happens within a family member, for example, like maybe their dad, their mom, their sister, anyone that's really close to them, if they have an accident or, for example, anything can happen to them, just that event that happened can really have a toll on them. It can really change the aspect of how they see things, and they don't speak about it. That's the thing. They don't say anything. They keep it in them. They are silent, suffering children.
It's weird that you said that, because I remember reading something about when you see something, let's say for an example, and it's something traumatic you've seen.
Yeah.
Our brains are really clever.
Of course.
And what our brains will do is throw it at the back of the mind.
Yeah.
So that is still there.
Mm-hmm.
it just it's a matter of something triggering.
That's right.
Something, I don't know, it could be an event, it could be a certain type of music, it could be a certain smell.
Yeah,
that could trigger that.
100%. I agree.
And suddenly all these alarm bells are ringing in your head. But if it's a child, for example, if they saw that at the age of, let's say, before 5, even before 8, I'd say, and let's say they've, come across that certain smell, taste, or experience when they're, let's say, 10 years old, they won't know how to process that.
That's right.
And that's the scary part, because they won't know how to cope with it.
Yeah.
They won't even know really what's going on.
That's right.
It depends on the child.
Of understanding, again,
That's right.
how to deal with emotions, because no one's taught them. They've not had that attention from an adult or anyone who cares.
Yes, you're right. And children don't know how to deal with it, especially the adults as well. When they see a child acting up, they don't know. They just think immediately the situation that's being presented in front of them, let's deal with that.
Yeah.
And even as parents, sometimes they don't even know that they're making this mistake.
That's right.
They don't understand, why is this child doing that? In that split second, they think, okay, they're behaving in a certain way, let's deal with that, and end of story. Go to bed or eat your food or whatever. It could be anything. What we as parents sometimes forget, that maybe there's something lurking in the background.
Well, they kind of take the things away from the child, like, oh, you're not having the treat that I was going to give you, or you're not having your electronic, or they do, you're sitting on the naughty step. Like, why? We need to understand our children.
Yeah.
It's very important.
I think it's lack of understanding.
Yes, and for the adult as well.
Absolutely. Raising awareness.
That's right.
And this is what we're trying to do here.
Of course.
But the other thing is, I have to mention, it's quite weird actually that we're talking about this. A movie recently got uploaded on Netflix,
right,
and one of the new movies. I got a notification.
Okay.
And I didn't think it'd be something connecting to this subject, but now that we're talking about this, I have to mention
that, isn't it?
Absolutely. The film's name was Do Pati.
Okay, an Indian movie.
Yes, it's an Indian movie.
Okay.
Absolutely brilliant.
Really?
There's a real twist to that story. How it connects to the issue that we're talking about here is, again, child trauma.
Yep.
But you don't really understand that this movie is about child trauma until the very end.
That's right.
Like children, in this particular movie, there's these 2 siblings who are twins.
Yeah.
And so one of the siblings is asked to keep quiet about a certain traumatic event that happened in front of her.
Okay.
And then because she had to keep it quiet, she then grew up to have depression, anxiety.
So with that guilt, she grew up.
Absolutely. She was scared of heights. She couldn't really communicate. If you compare the 2 siblings in that movie, they're both sisters, twin sisters. If you compare both of their behaviors and the way they are acting in that movie, there's a huge difference in their personalities. One is very withdrawn, and the other is out in the open, and she's confident.
Yeah.
But the one that's withdrawn, she has all those symptoms of carrying this trauma all her life.
Yeah.
She wasn't allowed to express what she saw. So she had all those symptoms going on, like I mentioned, asthma. She had
big burden on
anxiety. Yeah, and she was on medication for it too.
Oh,
but at the very end, you find out that because her sister confesses that event happened, and I'm really sorry because of myself and others in the family. We had to keep that quiet, and because of that, you instantly realize that that's why she was going through all of those illnesses, if you like.
Yeah.
But really, in reality, they are symptoms of trauma.
Of course, everything that we go through, like you've mentioned, like stress, depression, anxiety, it's all down to trauma, because you've had an event in your life. And that girl, like you mentioned, she had an event, and that has led to her being so ill.
Absolutely.
So that's where we miss out, because we put pressure on our children, we put pressure on adults, whether they are, in mid-age, old age, we put pressure, and it causes severe brain damage. It causes health issues, and we don't talk about this stuff. And once we are suffering ourselves, then we kind of understand that what I'm going through, but you need to open up to people. We need to open up to the correct people that can give the correct help.
That's right, yeah.
So it's very important to speak about this. I was looking at statistics about it as well, and they say that 1 in 5 adults aged between 18 and 74 years experience at least one form of abuse. And that can be like emotional abuse, physical abuse, domestic abuse, literally any abuse. But one of them, does really experience it.
Yeah.
And it's really sad that how we allow our children or adults, whoever, to carry it. And then once they obviously have children in the future and then they pass it on. It's really, really scary. And it's something that's not mainly spoken about. And I'm actually so glad that we've taken the time out and we've discussed this. And I hope everyone who's listening really understands that we are no experts, obviously.
Absolutely.
Me and Riri are no experts.
Mhm.
But we just wanted to highlight a few things that we've obviously seen, been through personally ourselves. Want anyone who's listening, any age, any viewer who's hearing us, to come out and speak out of any traumatic experience, events that they've seen. Come out and talk to us. We have an email address and we will talk about that. So if anybody wants to share their story with us, we have an email address, and that is
werealdivas@gmail.com. So that's WEDIVAS. So the email address is werealdivas@gmail.com. So that's werealdivas, all one word, @gmail.com. Please get in touch with us. We would love to hear from all our listeners. Anybody who's got any personal experiences, any experiences that their friends have had or anything, we would love to hear your feedback on our podcast today.
Definitely. When anyone that, thinks that they can't share anything, please don't feel afraid. We will anonymously talk about it and we will not mention any names, and it'll be amazing for everyone to hear from you guys. And thank you so much for everyone for listening to us. See you soon.